AMD warns of new meltdown, spectre-like bugs affecting CPUs. Low-severity bugs, but InfoSec pros claim they are critical. In other words, the likelihood of them being used is low, but if they are used, then you can extract all kinds of data. I want you to think of the concept of having a CPU in your machine for people who are not programmers. You have the concept of a CPU loading up instructions. It's gotta go through a sequence of events. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and then it gives you an output like adding two numbers together. What happens in this attack is that someone who's running a piece of software, even if it's inside of a virtual machine, I believe. So if you're more nerdy, you know what that means. I can't remember if they talk about it in here, but essentially what they can do is they can extract the information that comes bundled in with the instruction. So if it's, hey, CPU, add two numbers together and tell me what they are in total, somebody can inject themselves into the process of the CPU adding those two numbers up, and it can extract what those two numbers are, which means they can do so without any authentication. If those two numbers are personal to you and they're like, say, password protected, I've just put on your imaginary hat, we're imagining these two numbers are super secure numbers and you want to add them together and they're locked behind your user account and you had to, do facial recognition and whatever. And now the CPU has the numbers. Once they're in the CPU and the instructions are primed, someone can literally do a runtime or a race condition check where they rush ahead of the CPU and they grab those numbers straight out of the CPU. Now it gets worse. So if you're nerdy, it gets a little bit worse because what happens is that sometimes data gets put into what's called an L1 cache, a level 1 cache. A level 1 cache is essentially a very, very close memory space of the CPU where data that the CPU needs to act upon is within reach. It's very much within reach. People can go look at the L1 cache if they're running a piece of software on your machine, and they can see exactly what memory your CPU is working with. That includes memory that should otherwise be personal or authenticated or private or confidential or whatever, because it lives in a space inside of your hardware that does not have any security checks, because its sole purpose is strictly to maintain memory for the CPU operations that you have. So this is very, very bad because if somebody manages to get access to a machine, yours, mine, whatever, they can go in there and extract data before you even realize it. Sometimes what'll happen, I believe they talk about it here, is that the CPU will just silently fail, and then sometimes it'll even try and go back to the very first step and rerun the step. So you might notice like a little hiccup depending on what the operation is. It might be adding two numbers together. It might be like a little bit of like I didn't do it, and then all of a sudden it does it. That might be someone stealing your data from your CPU. This affects AMD's EPYC, Ryzen, Instinct, and Athlon chips. So please beware of this as much as you can.